Goody Blake and Harry Gill by William Wordsworth. Oh, what's the matter? What's the matter? What ist's that ails young Harry Gill? Evermore his teeth they chatter still. Of waistcoats Harry has no leg, go duffle grey and flannel fine. He's a blanket on his back, and coats enough to smother nine. In March, December, and in June, it's all the same with Harry Gill. The neighbours tell you truly, his teeth they chatter still. At night, at morning, and at noon, 'tis all the same with Harry Gill. Beneath the sun, beneath the moon, his teeth they chatter still. Young Harry was a lusty drover, who so stout of limb as he. His cheeks were red as ruddy clover, his voice was like the voice of three. Old Goody Blake was old and poor, ill-fed she was and thinly clad, and any man who passed the door might see how poor a hut she had. All day she spun in her poor dwelling, and then 3 hours work at night. Alas, 'twas hardly worth her telling, it would not pay for candlelight. This woman dwelt in Dorsetshire, out was on the cold hillside, and in that country colds are dear, for they come far by wind and tide. With the same fire to boil the pottage, 2 poor old dames, as I have known, often lived in one small cottage, but she, poor woman, dwelt alone. 'Twas well enough when summer came, a long warm lightsome summer day, and at the door the handy dame would sit, as any linnet gay. With her eyes so streams that fed her then how her old bones would shake. You would have said, if you had met her, 'twas a hard time for Goody Blake. Her evenings when were dull and dead, sad case it was, as you may think, very cold to go to bed, and then for cold not sleep a wink. Oh, joy for her, when in winter, winds at night had made the road, and scattered many a lusty splinter, many rotten bough about. Never had she, well or sick, as every man who knew her says, up here beforehand, wood or stick enough to warm her for 3 days. Now, when the frost was past enduring, and made her poor old bones to ache, could anything be more alluring than an old hedge to Goody Blake? And now and then, it must be said, when her old bones were cold and chill, she left the fire, or left the bed, to seek the hedge of Harry Gill. Now Harry had long suspected this trespass of old Goody Blake, and vowed that she should be detected, and he on her would vengeance take. Off from his warm fire he'd go, and to the fields his road would take, and there at night in frost and snow he watched to seize old Goody Blake. Ere at once, behind a rick of barley, was looking out at Harry stand. The moon was full and shining clearly, and crisp with frost the stubble land. He hears the noise, he's all awake again. A tiptoe down the hill he softly creeps. 'Tis Goody Blake, she's at the hedge of Harry Gill. Right glad was he when he beheld her, stick after stick did Goody pull. He stood behind a bush of elder, she had filled her apron full. When with a load she turned about, the byward back again to take. He started forward with a shout and sprang upon poor Goody Blake. And fiercely by the arm he took her, by the arm he held her fast, and fiercely by the arm he shook her, and cried, "I've caught you then at last!" Then Goody, who had nothing said, a bundle from her lap let fall, and kneeling on the sticks she prayed to God, that is the judge of all. She prayed her withered hand upbringing, while Harry held her by the arm. God, who art never out of hearing, or may he never more be warm. The cold, cold moon above her head was on her knees did Goody pray. Young Harry heard what she had said, and icy cold he turned away. He went complaining all the more, he was cold and very chill, his face was gloom, his heart was sore, alas, the day for Harry Gill. The day he wore a riding coat, but not a whit the warmer he, and never was on Thursday broad, or the Sabbath he had free. It was all in vain, a useless matter, and blankets were about him pent, yet still his jaws and teeth they clatter like a loose casement in the wind. Haze flashed, it fell away, and all to see him say, 'tis plain that life, as long as life he may, he never will be warm again. No word to any man he utters, a bad or up, to young or old, but ever to himself he mutters, "Poor Harry Gill is very cold." A bad or up, by night or day, his teeth they chatter still. Now think ye farmers all, I pray, of Goody Blake and Harry Gill.